tapping stress out. All you need to get started with EFT, or emotional freedom technique, or also known as tapping, to reduce stress. So this is a very basic yet very effective way to get started with emotional freedom technique, so that you can start to tap on certain parts of your body to reduce the intensity of stress, or you can also use it for any other negative emotion, simply by replacing the word stress with the other negative emotion, such as sadness, fear, anger, etc. So there are 5 basic steps in the basic version. Step 1 is to rate the intensity of the emotion. This is like taking a measurement. So for example, if I'm feeling stress right now, I would check in and ask myself, on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being incredibly stressed, 0 being not stressed at all, how stressed am I? So I feel the stress, check in, and I say, okay, I'm measuring my stress at an 8 out of 10. Next step would be to start with what is called the setup statement. So this statement is where we acknowledge the stress. And there are 2 parts of the setup statement. The first one is to acknowledge the negative emotion or the situation you're in. And then the second part is the acceptance of self. And while we're doing it, we need to tap on what is called the karate point chop. The karate chop point, I should say. And that runs from the bottom of the pinky, or little finger, to the top of the wrist right here. We can use several fingers. And so you know, it doesn't matter which finger you use or how many fingers. Once we get to the general area, if we use a few fingers, we'll get the right point. We tap on that point with the 3 fingers in this case, the same way, at the same level we would drum our fingers on the table. So doesn't have to be hard, just enough pressure so you feel it like you would drum the table with your fingers. Now it's the setup statement. I'm going to use, even though I have this stress in my body, I deeply love and accept myself. Repeat it 2 more times. Even though, whilst tapping on the karate chop point, even though I have this stress in my body, I deeply love and accept myself. Third, even though I have this stress in my body, I deeply love and accept myself. We have now tapped in to the body the issue we are working on. In this case, the stress, which I measured at 8 out of 10. What we need to do then is to tap on the meridian points. There will be a diagram you can follow, or you can just look at the video. The first point is going to be between the top of the nose, and I'm going to go along the rim of the eyebrow. So if you put your fingers in there, you can feel along the bone. There's actually a little crinkle in the bone that you can detect just there. So just tap on the inside of the eyebrow. Make sure you're on the brow, on the bony brow of the eye socket, and tapping all this stress 4 or 5 times. You move on to a point halfway between the eye and your temple. And again, if you use 2 fingers, you're going to get the point if you stay in line with the eye. All this stress. Next point. Again, if you put your finger on the eye socket, just gently feel the bone underneath the skin, and you feel a little wrinkle in the bone, and that's your third point. You're going to tap on that with 1 finger or 2 fingers. All this stress. Next point is between the bottom of your nose, the top of your upper lip. Again, 1 or 2 fingers. Doesn't matter which, left hand, right hand, doesn't matter. All this stress. Next point, between the bottom lip and the chin, we tap in here. All this stress in my body. Next point, we go to the V in our collarbone, down an inch and across about a ½ inch or an inch. You'll find a soft spot there between the ribs. Tapping on that point, all this stress in my body. Next point, for the male, underneath the arm, across from the nipple. Again, use 3 to 4 fingers, cover a large area, and you'll find a slightly tender spot in line with the nipple in the middle of the side of your body. Second last point, all this stress. Next point, top of the head, called the crown. So if I were to place a balance of books on the top of my head, the point that it would first reach is your crown. And that is the point. Again, a sense of spot, so gently, 2 or 3 fingers. All this stress. Now we simply move through all the points, repeating all this stress. All this stress. All this stress. Letting go of all this stress. All this stress. All this stress in my body. All this stress. 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 Feeling all this stress in my body. All this stress. All this stress. Now that's 3 rounds. So what I can do now is I continue, or if I feel that perhaps I'm feeling differently, the next point is state 4 is to go back and rate the intensity of the negative emotion, in this case stress again. So I'm checking in and now I feel I'm gone from an 8 to a 4. So my intensity of stress is 4 out of 10. Is it a problem for me right now? Not really. If I wanted to get it lower, I would simply repeat, just going, all this stress, 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 all this stress. Letting go of all this stress, all this stress, letting go, all this stress in my body. Again, a couple more rounds, stop, check in. Notice I rate the intensity again, and it's gone from a 4 this time down to a 2. And now 2 is not a problem for me, so I'm deciding I'm done. And that is the most basic, yet very quick, very powerful, very versatile technique that you can use yourself and share with others. Great one to train your clients in so that they now have a means of meeting intense negative emotions. Okay, hope this is of value to you, and I do encourage you to experiment, get started in this, have your own experience, and there's lots more you can do with EFT, but this alone is a very useful technique.